The story of Panna Dai, chapter number 12 of your coursework. Let's start. Before you read, if you were to draw a picture of courage, then what would it look like? So you have to simply draw and explain your illustration in about 50 words. You have to simply draw a picture of courage. And after that, whatever you have drawn, just explain in about 50 words. This is for you to do. Now actually this story is about Panna Dai. Panna Dai was a nurse, right? She was a nurse. And whatever she did is exceptional. It's not at all common. So we are going to read about this great lady, Panna Dai, in this chapter. Now read this exceptionally courageous story of Panna Dai. Exceptionally means unusually, right? Or you can say uncommonly. Let's begin. Maharana Singh, commonly known as Rana Sangha, was a Rajput ruler of Mewar, a princely state in northwestern India with the formation of Indian Republic. So before the formation of Indian Republic, Maharana Sangha, who was also known as Rana Sangha, he was actually a Rajput ruler of Mewar, and it was a princely state. Princely state means a state within the former British Empire in India, where an Indian prince ruled on the behalf of the British. That is known as a princely state. Okay. He belonged to the Sisodia clan of the Rajputs. So he belonged to the Sisodia clans. Clans means dynasty, okay, of Rajputs. He ruled Mewar. He ruled from which year? From 1508 to 1528. When the state of Mewar was formed, Chittorgarh was its first capital. So Chittorgarh was its first capital when Mewar was formed. Eventually, the name of the kingdom became Udaipur, okay, after the name of the new capital. Okay, eventually means after some time. I think this thing is clear. First para is clear. Now, next one. Rana Sangha's eldest son. Which son? Eldest son. And heir to the throne, Bhojraj had been killed in a battle in the year 1521. Okay. So in the battle of Khanwa, Rana Sangha fought against the Mughal Emperor Babur. With which Mughal Emperor this battle took place? Between Babur. Battle ended in Mughal's history. So who got the victory? Mughal got the victory, and the Rana died shortly thereafter in 1528. So he died in the year 1528. Who died? Rana. Okay, because Mughals got their victory and he died simply in the year 1528. Now the eldest son among his surviving sons was Rana Ratan Singh II, succeeded him to the throne. Unfortunately, he couldn't rule for long and passed away only after 4 years. So he ruled only for 4 years, and after 4 years he died. So after his death, he was succeeded by his brother Vikramaditya Singh, who was Rana Sangha and Rani Karnavati's eldest son. Right? So after his death, he was succeeded by his brother, right, whose name was Vikramaditya Singh. Right, and he was Rana Sangha and Rani Karnavati's eldest son and the elder brother of Uday Singh II. Clear? Now see the third para. Rani Karnavati had placed the younger son Uday Singh in the care of a trusted and loyal maid Panna, who was a vet nurse to Uday. So who is a vet nurse? Means a woman who is employed to suckle another woman's child, right? So she was a vet nurse who Panna Dai. Panna means emerald in Hindi and Dai means wetness. So Panna had a son of her own. She had her own son whose name was Chandan and who was same age as youngest Prince Uday. So Chandan was of the same age of Uday Singh, second, right? And they were playmates. So they used to just simply play together and enjoy. This paragraph is clear? Now, next one. Vikramaditya was all of 14 when he claimed the throne after his brother's death. So, at that time, Vikramaditya was only 14 years of age when he claimed the throne after his brother's death. However, he was a temperamental and arrogant ruler. He was not at all a good. Temperamental means he was a short-tempered and he was arrogant ruler. Right? So he simply was very stubborn. Other word for the arrogant, you can use this word. And many nobles and chieftains in the court of Mewar did not like his way of ruling. So people of the court of Mewar, they simply don't like him. Why? Chieftains means head. They simply disliked him because he was short-tempered and arrogant. So as a result, many of them did simply left, never to return till he was on the throne. So many of the nobles and the chieftains, they left him, means they left the court and decided never to return back till he was on the throne. So once what happened? He abused and misbehaved with an old chieftain in the court. So he simply misbehaved and even abused one of the head in the court. And this was the last straw for them. This was unbearable for them. So what they did? They placed Vikramaditya under palace arrest, making Uday Singh the heir elect to the throne. A distant cousin of Maharana Sangha, Singh Panveer, was appointed as the regent. So, with this, you can see that due to his arrogance and his short temper, he was simply arrested, right? He was simply he was kept in the palace as a prisoner, and a distant cousin of Maharana Sangha, Singh, whose name was Banveer, he was appointed as the regent. Regent means a person is appointed to administer a state because the monarch is minor, means he is very small or is absent or incaptivated. So, in place of whom? Of Uday, because he was very small. So, who was appointed? Banveer was appointed to kindly take care of the throne. But Panveer, who always considered himself to the rightful heir to the throne, knew that it was the right time for him to fulfill his ambition. But Panveer was to consider himself that I am the right one to just take up the throne. So only two obstacles. Obstacles means two hindrances remain between him and the throne. So there were two blocks only which he had to remove. One was Vikramaditya and his brother Uday Singh. So what he did? He killed Rana Vikramaditya in his palace, and with the same bloody sword he hurried towards the palace quarters of Panna Dai. Okay, so he killed Vikramaditya first, isn't it? He killed him in the palace itself because you know it, he was simply kept under palace arrest, right? So he killed him there only. And after that, what he did? He took this with the same sword. He simply hurried towards the palace quarter of Panna Dai, and with the intention of getting rid of the last obstacle. And the last obstacle was Uday, isn't it? So he simply wanted to kill Uday also. I hope this is clear. Now, Panveer was spotted by the maid servant, who promptly informed Panna of his cruel deed and intention. So, one of the maid servant, he Promptly means immediately informed Panna of his cruel deed. Deed means work, means with the intention, with what intention he was going towards Panna Dai's court. So Panna minds began racing. So she started thinking what to do now. She had to protect the only living heir to the throne of Mewar. So this was her duty, to save the only living heir to the throne. So she simply started thinking what to do. Both Uday and his son were sleeping. So at that time, Uday and his son were sleeping. She lifted Uday and put him in a big basket and covered it with fruits, and quickly called in a male servant and ordered him to take the basket to a safe location by the river bank and wait there until she joined him. So what she did, the time when she came to know that Banveer was simply rushing towards her quarters, so she simply picked up Uday and she just put him in a big basket and covered that basket with fruits, and asked one of the male servant and ordered him to take that basket to a safe location and by the river bank. She said that you just take this basket to the river bank and wait there until she joined. So after the servant was gone, what she did? She quickly shifted her son Chandan to Uday's bed and covered him with a blanket. So at the same place where Uday was sleeping, what she did? She simply shifted her own son Chandan there and covered him with a blanket. Soon after, Banveer rushed into the room, overcome with rage and carrying a sword covered with blood. And after that, Banveer rushed into the room and he was in anger. He was very angry, and he was carrying a sword which was covered with blood. He was so full of rage that he didn't even lift the blanket to see who was sleeping under it. Means he was so angry, so he not even lifted up the blanket to see that who was sleeping, and brought his sword down on the poor Chandan who was killed. Banveer then proclaimed himself to be the king. So he killed Chandan. And after that, he simply announced, he proclaimed himself, means he announced officially that now I am the king. Panna watched in horror as her own son was murdered. Just imagine the pain which Panna Dai would have felt at that time. She saw that horror thing in front of her because her own son was murdered in front of her. You can't even imagine the pain she felt. She could not even mourn for her own child. Means she was not able even to cry at that time. Even at the death of her own son, she was not able to mourn. The Rajput women were known for their bravery and courage. Yes, the Rajput women were known for courage and the bravery. She quickly packed a few clothes and supplies and left the fort to meet the servant at the designated spot. So once Banveer left, she simply packed up the clothes and all the supplies which were needed for this little king. She simply packed and left the fort to meet the servant, where she told that was by the river bank. She said to the servant to wait, and from there Panna took there to Kumbulgar. So she knew his identity could not be revealed because his safety was supreme. So she has to hide her safety. She had to hide that. Then eventually fought refuge in the house of the governor of Kumbulgar, Asha Shah. They stayed there for how many years? For few years, right? So where they lived? They took the refuge in a house of a governor of Kumbulgar. His name was Asha Shah. In the year 1539, a chieftain from Mewar visited Kumbulgar, and Uday Singh was now a young man, and who he was sent to receive him. He was introduced as the governor's nephew. So this boy, the young boy Uday Singh, he was simply introduced as governor's nephew to the chieftains. However, his mannerism and personality made the chieftain believe that the young man wasn't the governor's nephew. A rumor quickly spread that Uday Singh was alive, and now a rumor spread that Uday Singh was alive. A group of chiefs and noblemen went to Kumbulgar to interview Uday Singh and Panna Dai. So after that, what happened? A group of chiefs and noblemen, they went to Kumbulgar and they took an interview of Uday Singh and Panna Dai. It was then clearly established that it was indeed Uday Singh, the surviving son of Maharana Sangha Singh, and the rightful heir to the throne of Mewar. And then it was found, yes, that this young boy, Uday Singh, actually is the surviving son of Maharana Sangha Singh, and he was the rightful heir to the throne. Means he was the one to rule the throne of Mewar. Now, Uday Singh was proclaimed to be the king by the nobles and chiefs, and his coronation was held at the Kumbulgar. In 1540, Uday Singh marched on Chittor to reclaim his throne, but he was defeated, and it is not sure whether he escaped or he was killed. It is nowhere mentioned. So Uday Singh was declared the Maharana of Mewar. He was the 53rd ruler of Mewar dynasty, right? And he later founded the city of Udaipur, which is in Rajasthan. It was all made possible by the ultimate sacrifice made by Panna Dai, who exemplified the courage that the Rajput women are known for. Isn't it? It was only possible because of the Panna Dai. Her sacrifice of her son for the sake of the duty is unparalleled in Indian history. Means it has having no other example. It's exceptional in the Indian history. So with this, story ends up. And this is the real story. And I hope so now, children, this chapter is very clear to you all. Now let's do read and write. Now see. First one. Write true or false. You have to simply state whether it is true or false. Maharana Sangha Singh was also known as Rana Sangha. Whether it is true or false, obviously he was known as Rana Sangha, isn't it? So you can simply write true over here. The second one, Udaipur was the first capital of Mewar. No, it's wrong. So you have to write false. Okay? Because you know it was Chittorgarh, isn't it? This is simply explained here. You can see here, Chittorgarh was his first capital. See the next one. Ratan Singh was Rana Sangha's eldest son. That's false. He was not the eldest son. Eldest son was, you can see here, the eldest son, his Rana Sangha succeeded him to the throne, but he died, right? So you can simply see over here, Bhojraj. You can see here, Rana Ratan Singh, eldest son, Bhojraj, right? He was the eldest son. And over here it is written, Rana Ratan Singh was Rana Sangha's eldest son. So this is wrong. Number 4, Vikramaditya Singh was the elder brother of Uday Singh. Yes, simply write true over here. Vikramaditya Singh was well-loved ruler of Mewar. No, he was very arrogant, isn't it? Panna Dai took Uday Singh to Kumbulgar. Yes. Uday Singh was the 53rd ruler of Mewar dynasty. Yes, it is mentioned here. You can see he was the 53rd ruler. Okay. So in this way, you have to simply write true or false. Now, see the next one. Answer these questions. Who was Rana Sangha? You can simply say that Rana Sangha was a Rajput ruler of Mewar and a princely state in the northwestern India before the formation of Indian Republic. Okay. So this is what you can write. So you can say that he belonged to Sisodia clan of Rajputs. He ruled Mewar from 1508 to 1528. Next one is, how did he die? You have simply explained about Rana Sangha in the first part, and second one is, how did he die? You have to tell how he died. So you simply say that in the Battle of Khanwa, Rana Sangha fought against the Mughal Emperor Babur, isn't it? And the battle ended in the Mughal victory, and Rana died shortly thereafter in 1528. Okay, Next one. Why did Vikramaditya Singh rule not last long? Why? What was the reason? Just see. Vikramaditya Singh's rule was not liked by many nobles and chieftains in the court, and it did not last because he was very temperamental and arrogant ruler. Or you can say short temper and arrogant ruler. Okay. Next one. Who was Panna Dai? Panna Dai was a wet nurse to Uday Singh. Right. Next, what was her contribution to the royal household? So you can simply mention what? That actually she sacrificed the life of her own son to protect the life of the only heir to the throne of Mewar, that is Uday Singh. This is what she did. Okay. Next one. Banbir always considered himself to be the rightful heir to the throne. Now let's do the question answers. Answer these questions. Who was Rana Sangha? So you can write Rana Sangha was a Rajput ruler of Mewar. It was a princely state in the northwestern India before the formation of Indian Republic. He belonged to Sisodia clans or dynasty, you can use Sisodia dynasty of Rajputs, and he ruled Mewar from the year 1508 to 1528. Right? How did he die? So you can say that in the Battle of Khanwa, Rana Sangha fought against the Mughal Emperor Babur, and the battle ended in Mughals' victory, and Rana Sangha died shortly thereafter in the year 1528. Okay? Now see the next one. Why did Vikramaditya Singh rule not last long? What was the reason? So you can write like this, that Vikramaditya Singh rule was not liked by many nobles and chieftains in the war. Why? Because it did not last. The reason for it was that he was a very temperamental and arrogant ruler. Yes, he was very short-tempered and an arrogant ruler. So you can simply write in this form, as he was very short-tempered and arrogant, that is for the reason his rule did not last long. In this way also you can write. Who was Panna Dai? So Panna Dai was a wet nurse to Uday Singh. What was her contribution in the royal household? Just see, there are two questions within one question. So first one is, who was Panna Dai? So you have simply said that Panna Dai was a wet nurse to Uday Singh. Second one is, what was her contribution to the royal household? So you can simply write that she sacrificed her life of her own son to protect the life, right, of the only heir to the throne of Mewar, that is Uday Singh. This was her contribution, isn't it? Banbir always considered himself to be the rightful heir to the throne. What did he do to fulfill his ambition? So you have to simply tell that what he do to fulfill his ambition. Just write down, in order to fulfill his ambition, Banbir went out to kill the last surviving heirs to Rana Sangha. He killed Vikramaditya and also attempted to kill Uday Singh, who was eventually saved by Panna Dai. Okay? Next one. How did Panna Dai manage to save the only living heir to the throne of Mewar? How she managed? So you can write that Panna Dai managed to save the only living heir to the throne of Mewar by sacrificing her own son's life, Chandan, whom Banbir killed, thinking he was Uday Singh. So she then took Uday Singh to Kumbulgar, and this is how she saved. How was Uday Singh's true identity revealed? Means how people came to know that Uday Singh, this young man, was actually the king of Mewar, right? You can simply write down that in the year 1539, a chieftain from Mewar visited Kumbulgar, and Uday Singh, at that time he was a young man, he was sent to receive them, and he was introduced as a governor's nephew. But the way he behaved, the manner and the personality he carried, that made a doubt in chieftain's mind that this young man wasn't the governor's nephew. And this led to the spread of a rumor that Uday Singh was alive. And eventually his true identity was revealed, means it was disclosed. Everyone came to know that he was the right heir to the throne of Mewar. Last one. How did Uday Singh become the ruler of Mewar? Just simply write that Uday Singh was proclaimed to be the king of he was simply proclaimed to be the king by the nobles and the chieftains, and his coronation was held at Kumbulgar. In 1540, Uday Singh marched to Chittorgarh to reclaim his throne by defeating Banvir. Isn't it? Banvir took the palace now, and he killed his brother and tried to kill him also, and that time he was a king. So now this was Uday Singh. He went to fight with him and defeated Banvir, and thereafter Uday Singh was declared the Maharana of Mewar. I hope so all these answers are clear. Now see, answer with reference to the context. Soon after, Banvir rushed into the room, overcome with rage and carrying a sword covered with blood. Now see the questions related to this. Who was Banvir? So you have to simply write who was Banvir. Banvir was a distant cousin of Maharana Sangha. Okay. Why was Banvir's sword covered with blood? Banvir's sword was covered with blood because he had killed Vikramaditya using the same sword. Next one. With what intention did Banvir rush into the room? What intention he had? So Banvir rushed into the room with the intention of killing the last surviving heir to the throne of Mewar, that is Uday Singh. Isn't it? All the answers are so easy. When the chapter is clear, you can answer any question beta. Okay? Let's see the next one. She quickly packed a few clothes and supplies and left the fort to meet the servant at the designated spot. From there, Panna took Uday Singh to Kumbulgar. She knew his identity could not be revealed because his safety was supreme. They eventually found refuge in the house of the governor of Kumbulgar. Right? This will be given. Now, after that, questions are here. You can see what was the servant doing at the designated spot. What was the servant doing at the designated spot? Just write down that the servant was waiting at the designated spot for Panna Dai, who had instructed him to carry Uday Singh there. Right? Why could Uday Singh's identity not be revealed? Uday Singh's identity could not be revealed because his life would be in danger. That was the only reason. If Banvir came to know of his whereabouts, obviously he would have killed him. Who was the governor of Kumbulgar? Asha Shah was the governor of Kumbulgar. Okay, so in only one sentence you have to answer for these questions, not more than that. Okay. Now, think and write. Panna Dai truly exemplified the courage that Rajput women are known for by sacrificing her son for the sake of the duty and motherhood. How do you think so she was able to take his courageous decision? So, Panna, you can say that Panna Dai was able to make the courageous decision of sacrificing her own son's life to save the last living eye of the Mewar, just by putting the welfare of the kingdom before herself or her family. She thought for the kingdom, not for herself and not for her son. And that is for the reason she did it. Because you know it, that these Rajput women, they are known for their courage. And she proved, yes, she was really a great Rajput woman. Okay. Now you can simply just talk about and write, describe the most courageous thing that you have done in your life and what gave you strength to do this. Just write it down if you have done anything courageous in your life and what gave you the strength to do that thing. You are walking with your friend in the corridors outside your classroom and your friend eats a toffee and throws a wrapper in the floor. Just at that moment, the principal walks out to the office and asks if you know who threw the wrapper on the floor. What will you do? Will you tell the truth to the principal or you will hide? Just discuss, right? Write it down. Whatever action you will do at that time, just write it down. Now see, choose the most appropriate synonym, right? Synonym means word which have the similar meaning. Okay. Rani Karnavati placed Uday Singh in the care of a trusted and loyal maid, Panna. So what is the meaning over here? Loyal, you can use faithful. This is the correct one. This is a synonym for this word loyal. Okay. However, he was a temperamental and arrogant ruler. So you can use this word pompous. Okay. This is the synonym for this one. See the next one. Banveer knew that it was the right time to fulfill his ambition. Accomplish. Okay, this is a synonym for fulfill. Only two obstacles remain between him and throne. Obstacle means hindrance. Okay. The maid servant promptly informed Panna Banveer's cruelty. Promptly means quickly. She knew his identity could not be revealed because his safety was supreme. So you can see disclosed. Okay. Revealed, other word for revealed you can use disclose. So these are all the synonyms. Okay. So this you will not be doing this. We will be doing it in a next class. Right. I am leaving this grammar section right now for you all. So I hope so this chapter is clear, children. Still, if you face any problem, please just go through the chapter again, read it properly, and just have trust in yourself. You can do it yourself. Okay, bye-bye.